It's afternoon, so good afternoon. I am going to be talking about postgraduate to global scholar, navigating international postgraduate scholarships. I have listened to a lot of presentations since morning, and like someone said, article writing, grant application, concept note formation, name them, they seem to have a similar approach of compelling anyone who is accessing an application. So as a scholarship coach, what I'm going to be discussing today is going to just be a reflection of my experience having applied for scholarships several times. I'm still applying for scholarships, I'm still studying, and I'm still coaching people who want to apply for scholarships, primarily in Europe and North America. Of course, the basis on which I am going to make my presentation is the fact that I was a Shell Petroleum Development Company of Nigeria scholar during my undergraduate studies, and I was also a Mastercard Foundation scholar at the University of Edinburgh in the United Kingdom. I am currently also a trainee on a research course at the International Center for Tax and Development, and I've also worked a couple of times. I've had stints in research support and assistance. And I also have a passion for mentoring students and young people to achieve personal development. So why do scholarships matter? Access to world-class education, networks and mentorship, funding research that matters, and pathway to leadership and impact. Yeah, so for those who are familiar with the content that I post on Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube, they know that my content is usually in Hausa. And the reason why I do that is because I want to reach people in northern Nigeria. I want people in northern Nigeria to access world-class education at scale. We have universities elsewhere, everywhere, but perhaps some universities are more resourced than others. And as such, I encourage people to apply for scholarships just so that they can access much more probably resourced universities, have access to cultural exposure also, because scholarships give you an opportunity to travel abroad, to study in a culture different from yours, and that way you get to develop your interpersonal communication skills, because sometimes you might be the most socially intelligent person within your locality, but trust me, if you go to study abroad, you realize that sometimes even the way you make pauses, the way you respond to people when they share their challenges with you could be entirely different. Maybe things you laugh at is entirely different from what people will laugh at elsewhere in Europe or North America. But in a way, it's not like there is any culture that is superior to the other one. Just that knowing as much as possible in the different cultures will enable you to be more emotionally intelligent, so that you know when to speak in a way that you don't offend anyone. So scholarships help you to achieve that. You get to know like different types of people from different cultures, and that way you become a better leader. Someone, for example, who knows that maybe a Muslim does this, or a Christian does that, or a Hindu does this, would most probably be a better leader, because they will be able to adjust to concerns of people adhering to different religions. So yeah, scholarships help you to achieve that, and networks and mentorship. With a scholarship, you get a lot of mentorship. Now, mentorship has been taken for granted, yeah? It continues to be taken for granted, but trust me, it's very, very important, because there are certain things you want to do, and often you will see that you just can't identify anyone to put you through within your immediate community. I have struggled with that. When I finished my undergraduate studies, I knew that I wanted to get a scholarship to study in the United Kingdom. But as much as there were people who were very, very supportive, not everyone could tell me that this is what you need to do. This is what UK universities want. This is what you need to write in your scholarship applications. And if I am able to write the scholarship applications, I was always looking for people who would tell me that, okay, this sentence sounds nice, but it wouldn't compel the selections panel. Or these are the kind of examples you should give. Although you might have been in the students' union, you might have volunteered in your community, you might have done several things in your church or in the mosque, but maybe the example from your community is the best example that you should tell the scholarship committee. So what scholarship does to you is it provides you access to those mentors, people who deliberately want to see you succeed. Perhaps people who are sometimes, some scholarships actually go to the extent of employing mentors. They put people on salary to mentor students. So for example, you are a master's student or you are a PhD candidate, there is someone who is probably being paid to speak to you for 2 hours every week just to help you know the kind of journals you should target when you want to make a publication, or the kind of, the companies you should start reaching out to for internships if you want to become a professional or you want to chart your career in a particular way. So there are people who would provide that guidance. So as such, that deliberate attempt to help you develop as a student or as a learner is often found in scholarships, much more than you could find in like traditional pathways of learning. All of them are fantastic, but scholarships tend to spend more money in order to help you develop so that you can build your capacity. Of course, through the mentorship, you develop a network. You are going to know a lot of people and they will know you as well. Trust me, network is also forms part of capacity. There are certain people in the world today who are only able to do certain things because they know several people. They might just be graduates of, not because any course is above the other, but someone could be a graduate of languages, but they could become fantastic executives of some software company. Sometimes that happens. Do you know why? Because maybe just by virtue of the fact that they studied at the Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, where there are a lot of brilliant students doing amazing things. They know someone in computer science who is so brilliant, who is so good at coding, but they also know someone from business administration who knows how to do marketing. And they know some fantastic software engineer in the engineering faculty who knows how to coordinate engineering products. So as such, give them a few trainings, they will be able to coordinate the company so long as they have the passion and the general understanding of how a tech company should work. By virtue of that, they will be able to coordinate the company and they will become very, very successful. So you see how network has enabled someone to achieve their career goal. So with scholarships, through that mentorship and people within your cohort and sometimes even lecturers, that is going to enable you to build some network. And at times, especially government scholarships, take Chevening Scholarship for example, because it is highly prestigious, the UK government values it so much. Sometimes there is a way that you are perceived if you are a Chevening scholar. So in a way that gives you access to people. When you just type an email, hello, I am a MasterCard Foundation scholar, for example, or I'm a Chevening scholar, or I'm a DAT scholar, or I'm a Commonwealth scholar. They are always happy to listen to you because they know what you came to do. Sometimes some of them know that there is a process in place to identify potential leaders from developing countries to come to the UK and study. And as such, they feel like they are part of building your country if they listen to you or if they respond to your emails. Research that matters. Scholarships help you to fund research that matters. There are certain things that you're so passionate about. You really want to study them. But some universities might not want to take you in. Some universities might just not give you the admission to study those things. Perhaps because they are not interested in that, or they might not have the right, human resource capability to fund that. But through scholarships, you are able to conduct that type of research. So if you have some out-of-the-world idea, or some very, very important topics that you think is important to your village, then perhaps applying for scholarship is something that you should consider doing. Like recently, this is an anecdotal encounter, but I think it's going to be a big idea. For example, someone summoned me and I went to visit the person. And I think he just summoned me because he felt like I was one of the few people who would understand what he was looking at. And he told me of this existential problem in a small town that was facing climate change in its realest form, literally. the community continues to flood almost every year, and it happens with some dislocation of soil. So it keeps on, like the water, the ground level keeps on rising in the village. And I said, you know what, this is not just a scholarship for one person in this town. They are supposed to have a pipeline of scholarships for several people out of this town so that the people from that town would come back and solve the problem of that town. So in a way, you see, applying for scholarship helps you to solve a problem through research that matters. Pathway to leadership and impact. Again, most of the time, scholarships pride themselves based on the fact that they are out to train future leaders. Cheverton says that they are training future leaders. The MasterCard Foundation Scholars Program at their partner universities also aim to train future leaders. In fact, for the MasterCard Foundation Scholars Program, they call it a transformative leadership journey. When I was a MasterCard Foundation Scholar at the University of Edinburgh, aside my regular studies, attending lectures, writing my essays, which those are the equivalent of exams, we call them essays in the UK. I also attended some extracurricular activities, and those were sometimes classroom discussions where we come and reflect about leadership, about what we are becoming as leaders and what we are envisioning, and where we think we need to reflect, where we think we need to improve on. Sometimes we even get opportunities to try our hands in different projects just so that we can learn about our ability to coordinate, our ability to be empathetic, and our ability to be clear when it comes to communication, because communication always matters. In fact, the key in leadership is usually what? Communication. The president of Nigeria doesn't write any journal or brief. All he does is just give directives and things happen. So if the person is not able to communicate clearly what he wants, if he invites, for example, a minister, this is what I want particularly, then there is a way that somehow the education sector might be going through some challenges just because the leader at the top is, for example, not able to communicate clearly. Now, this is just a hypothetical example, yeah? So the transformative leadership experience or the leadership capability development helps you to develop your skills in all those, because these days, the belief is that almost everything is about skill. There is a skill to doing everything. Whenever you see something not happening properly, chances are that some skill is missing in doing it. But if you have the right environment, people with the right skills, most of the time, success happens. Okay. Now, I'd want to believe that a lot of the people in this room are master's students who would most probably be applying for PhD scholarships or PhD opportunities. While that might be the priority of a lot of people in this room, my talk is going to blend the two, both master's and PhD scholarship applications. But essentially, for PhD scholarship applications, they are different in terms of how students are recruited, in terms of the methodology that is used to get students on board. The first one, for example, is not because this is in any particular order, yeah, but funded projects, existing research projects. Professor was here a few minutes ago, about an hour ago, talking about research grants, funding that the university is receiving to conduct research in different areas. At times, certain research grants are so big, and since sometimes the funders oblige the grantees to do some mentorship or to take in mentees, that mentorship sometimes could be defined very, very broadly, to the extent that the mentorship means that before the end of this project, we want you to employ or recruit a master's or a PhD student who will be assisting you to conduct this research, while at the same time also working towards getting a PhD or a master's degree. A lot of funded projects come out of those research requirements. And as such, when you want to apply for a PhD scholarship, sometimes you might look out for funded projects. Some projects are 15, 20 years. You might come on the project. By the time you come on the project, you might have spent 3, 4 years doing it. You assist them for 3, 4, 5 years. You get your PhD and leave, and the project is still continuing. but you'll see they do a PhD along the line because the project is very, very broad. So when you're applying for PhD, don't always think about PhD as I will submit a personal statement and then I will submit my own proposal and then I will go and do the research that I want to do. Sometimes the research could be there, the proposal is already there. They are just looking for a student who has a master's degree or an undergrad honors degree who has demonstrated their capability to deliver, to contribute to that kind of project, and they are given an opportunity to do a PhD. Yeah, the second one is what I just talked about, what would probably be the opposite of this, self-proposed research. So, and that is, of course, the intuitive way of thinking about PhD scholarships, or even master scholarships sometimes. That is when maybe a student has done a master's degree or an undergraduate degree, and they've had this perhaps wonderful undergraduate project or master's thesis, and they are still seeing some gaps within that project, and they craft out a proposal within that research project they did at undergrad or master's. They write the proposal according to the specifications of the university. They start contacting supervisors to see if they will be interested in supervising that type of research, and then the supervisor will say yes, and the students will probably then go back to the university portal and make the application, because PhD scholarship applications are sometimes very, very informal. They are not like masters where you probably don't need to speak to anyone in the department. You just go and submit your transcript and your details, and then you wait for the university to reach out to you with a decision on whether they've accepted you. For PhD, most of the time you have to reach out to the professor via email. And that is what is called cold emailing. Some people just cold email to get funding and everything, including the proposal, because they are cold emailing to get recruited into a funded project, while some people would email professors because they want the professors to accept them. So in the cold email, you state your capabilities, your research interests. Most of the times, what I do is, I read one or two papers published by the professor that are in line with what I want to do, and then I will somehow find a way of slotting a sentence to even argue about something he stated, or to even share some grade, because research most of the time it's a human cost itself, yeah? So some professors are very much invested in what they do, very, very much invested. And as such, if you're very good at owning the research process, just one sentence might be what will appeal to the professor, and they will want to then listen to you. And once they are interested, they are. Some professors could actually go to the extent of going to look for a scholarship to be created for you. They actually do that at times. Then there is also this US-style PhD. The US is quite different from the UK, in most of the time, traditionally, in the way they deliver PhDs. In the UK, most of the time they expect you to have done a master's degree. So they expect you to come with a proposal, you know what you're doing, you've done your research methods course, you also have been immersed in theory and concept, so all you need to just do is to arrive. Sometimes you don't even do any coursework. Probably all the things you'll be doing are just maybe workshops regarding how to apply this framework or that framework, and then you have some meetings with your supervisor, you'll be doing your research, you'll do literature, you collect data up until you finish it, maybe in 3 to 4 years. But sometimes in the US, because they expect that a lot of people who would be applying for the PhDs are people who only have undergraduate degrees, because yeah, I've done a video, some of you might have seen it. In the US, sometimes even in the UK, you can apply for PhD from undergraduate without doing masters. But I think technically what happens is that during the procedure, during the PhD, you'll see that US PhDs are longer, 5, 6 years at times. So the first 2 years, you are a proper student doing, if for example you're doing a PhD in economics, first semester, second semester, you might be doing courses in advanced macro, research methods, econometrics, and then you develop the proposal inside the PhD. You don't come with it. So sometimes that's what happens in the US, and as such, when people are applying for US PhDs, all they need is their transcript, a recommendation from their university professor during undergrad, other like maybe English proficiency certification, and personal statement, a strong, compelling personal statement to show why they think they want to do a PhD, that they are not just going to do a PhD because maybe they want the title, or maybe they just want to do it without knowing what it entails, because it's, they said, a very, very rigorous, rigorous process that can be very, very tiring. So you need genuine interest before you can stand up to it. institutional scholarship. Sometimes certain departments might have special scholarships that they offer, or fellowships. There are some universities that might have some fellowships that they offer. You come on board, maybe you have some training, and at the end you are expected to develop a proposal. They might even give you a certification along the line. But upon doing that, they might then advertise PhDs. And most of the time, people who have gone through that fellowship would be the ones that would be accepted in that fellowship, because hey, you might have already developed your capacity and you are most probably the most suitable candidate for that position. There is also the 1+3 PhD opportunities, mostly in the UK. It's also like the US style PhD, where sometimes you might have the masters, but sometimes you might not. The PhD has a master's inbuilt in it, so undergraduates could apply. Masters holders could also apply. You start a regular master's program, they give you an offer of masters, you start doing it, you finish. A couple of times it will be like an MRes or an MPhil, but sometimes it might be standard MSc, say social research. Most of the time, the masters they will ask you to do, most of the times, not all the time, but most of the times it's like research training dominated kind of master's degree. Because the aim is to prepare you to do a sound PhD. On this note, what I just want to say is that this might not happen to a lot of you, but if it comes your way, don't be scared. A lot of people have done it. I have seen some of my lecturers in the UK who have gone through the same thing. And it is someone who has done a master's, doing a second master's. Sometimes just because they want to do second master's, they feel like they're interested in doing it. Sometimes, and that forms the basis of why I brought this anecdote. Sometimes, some people do the second master's because it's going to be a pathway towards a PhD. You know, disciplinary interests keep on changing. Someone might have done a master's and an undergrad in physics, but all of a sudden, what they are interested in is artificial intelligence. And here is this fantastic PhD opportunity that comes with a master's support or master's scholarship, just so that you can get prepared in AI research and then you eventually transition into a PhD in AI governance or AI ethics, for example. So if you've done a master's, a first master's, and there's this fantastic opportunity for PhD 1+3, you shouldn't be scared to do it. There is a PhD scholarship that I have applied for in the past, and they said, okay, this is how the application works. We are going to make some assessment of your research capability. If we think that your research idea is fantastic, but we feel like your research capability is not strong enough, we might have you go through a master's before you can start the PhD. So people should put that at the back of their minds as well. Then democratize or non-conventional eventual funding. Is my time up? No. Okay. Yeah, democratize or non-conventional or eventual funding. This is interesting. People don't do that. People are often told not to do it. But trust me, a lot of people get funding from that. Especially these days with social media. Because social media is here to revolutionize almost everything. If someone is so passionate about something these days, they don't even have to be aligned to any institution. Yeah? Sometimes if you speak about something frequently enough, you might just get an invitation. Yeah. There are people who get scholarships, not because they just saw the scholarship and applied. Sometimes someone might have reached out to them. Maybe they saw some fantastic video they posted on YouTube, and the university or the professor decides to send them a DM saying, hi, we have this PhD program, do you want to apply for it? Sometimes it happens. Yeah, because maybe the person has demonstrated some interest, genuine interest in the field. Sometimes the person might have yielded some impact in that field. Maybe you might have done some fantastic documentary on girl-child education, and all of a sudden a university is reaching out to say, hi, do you want to apply for our scholarship? Yeah, sometimes you might even be awarded a fellowship to just come and build your capability in research. It happens. You just need to widen your horizon, widen your anticipation of what is possible. Master's versus PhD funding. Masters is shorter, but it has high competition because a lot of people would want to do a master's, not necessarily because they want to go into academia, but a lot of people would want to do a master's. But PhD, most times when you see people interested in PhDs, they must be, most of, I mean, not most, but a lot of times you see that there are people that are highly interested, at least in theoretical kind of exploration. Those are the people that would want to do a PhD. Because in fact, masters, we have professional masters, yeah? Even though these days sometimes one could even argue that there are professional PhDs, but don't quote me anywhere. So the key distinction between the two scholarships is that PhD scholarships fund research, not just education. So funders think differently. Let me make this point. In Scandinavian countries, Sweden, Denmark, Iceland, Finland, they think about PhDs as work. And that, a lot of times you'll see that they even increase your allowance. So first year PhD, so maybe a few thousand euros. Second year they increase it. Third year, fourth year they increase it. And the PhD is treated in such a way that they treat you as a worker. So sometimes certain labor laws would apply to you as a PhD candidate because you're actually working. They believe that PhD is work. Of course, we know that you just can't take anyone on the street and enroll them in a PhD program. They might have acquired some skills, basic skills of literacy, numeracy, and even research and epistemic skills in research methods. And as such, it is believed that what they are doing is adding value. If they review literature, it requires some skills to be able to review literature. Not anyone can do it. And as such, it is believed that that should be treated as work. So they treat you as somebody that is working. And those are opportunities that you might want to look at in Scandinavian countries because they pay well. What do funders look for? Strong research proposal, a very good research proposal, and then fit with the supervisor. You can't be reaching out to a supervisor who has no connection whatsoever to what you want to do, just because they are a professor in political science and you have this research in elections. Meanwhile, they are a professor of political science, but they are interested in maybe conflict. No intersection. Most of the time, they might not even respond. Because in academia, especially for us in social sciences, sometimes we have interdisciplinary alignments and we sometimes have within discipline opposite of alignment. I mean, diversions. Yeah, sometimes we have them in social sciences. The same, maybe two people doing PhDs in mass communication, but absolutely different type of research that there is almost no way that they could come together. So don't fall into that trap. If you see that the professor's research has no link, I mean, as you based on your thinking as a master's student, you can't see any link, I think you should move to the next professor if you want to get accepted. Evidence of readiness through publications, teaching, research assistance, and other academic experiences, and academic merit. Have a strong CGPA in your master's. CGPA is very important. I like that. Leadership and community engagement. Some scholarships would want to see that you've done something in your community. Maybe you've engaged in student union. Maybe you've engaged in PRC, for example. Sometimes some universities might look at that as a plus. If two people all have distinctions, fantastic proposal, fit with supervisor, and the other one has some community engagement, either locally or within the university, they might be a more preferred student, not all the time. And building supervisor relationships. If you want to get accepted into a program, build relationship with your supervisor, with the potential supervisor. I've done that before and I've seen it happen in action. A document that I couldn't secure last year, it's almost like waiting for me to secure this year because I've developed relationship with the potential supervisors. Yeah. But building the relationship doesn't mean being cranky or doing anything unethical. Follow the academic line. They are interested in the field. You are doing research in the field. If there's an opportunity within the department, apply. If they have a webinar, go and attend. Sign up for their mailing list so that you know what is happening within the center. You are attending their programs. They are seeing you asking questions, making contributions. Sometimes they advertise volunteer moderation of panel conversation, and you're turning up. Then they notice you. And that way, you know that you are genuinely interested in the field, so much so that you are willing to give in 3 hours just to contribute to the field. That way, if you eventually reach out for supervision, you could just be considered. Yeah. So start identifying supervisors, draft a concise proposal, get some research or industry experience, target fellowships as a stepping stone, like I said. So universities, they have programs. They are not PhDs, they are not masters, they are research trainings. So if you get the road, you are going to be your capability, and your profile is going to align with that research interest, and you, as time goes on, you'll see that you are building your capability and you are becoming a much more suitable candidate for such opportunities. Now, it's almost difficult to state PhD scholarships because there are thousands of them. But take note of this website, jobs.ac.uk. Check every week because they update. They have a lot of academic opportunities. There are postdocs, PhDs, and even lecturing positions at times. So if you want to get if your target is the UK, for me, I was quite obsessed when I was chasing scholarships. I wanted to go to the UK. 14 scholarship applications, 12 were targeted to the UK. One in Hungary, one in New Zealand. 12 in the UK. I got the scholarship on the 12th attempt. I had even submitted 13th and 14th application, I think, not knowing that the 12th had gone through. So the UK, I knew that I wanted to go to the UK, and that was what I targeted, and that was what I got. So if you want to get a scholarship in the UK, then you should stick to jobs.ac.uk. They always have the positions. You can filter according to subject, according to, I think, even level. Then there is also another website, but that one is a bit wider. Findaphd.com. Findaphd.com without space. If you go there, you can be visiting that website as well, maybe every week. You will be refreshing. You will see different PhDs, funded and non-funded. You will see where they are, what they are looking for, and then you can start chasing those scholarships. Because a lot of the DMs that I received are from people asking me to tell them about scholarships, but here I receive almost 200 DMs at times, maybe in every 2 days, 300 at times. So I can't be sending the same thing all the time to people. So it's better for the people to know the websites, source of scholarship news. There are several other platforms where you can see opportunities, but these are some of them. And as you visit these websites, more of them are going to come your way because the algorithm would have studied the fact that you are interested in academia and it will be showing you these opportunities. Institutional websites as well. Some universities, they are known for funding research, so always visit their website so that in case they have PhD opportunities, you'll know about that. ESRC, Economic and Social Research Council, this is also the British Academy as well. They have a lot of opportunities for PhDs. New Zealand Development Scholarships, there are a lot of scholarships in New Zealand. People don't tend to look at that, but of course we know that New Zealand also has the standard of European countries. LinkedIn, please. Have a decent profile on LinkedIn. Follow the academics. Follow them. If you see someone, you've read a paper in ABU and you've seen that it's been published by someone at Harvard, check if they have a LinkedIn page. Follow them. Like their posts. The more you do that, your LinkedIn page is going to automatically be tailored towards academia. All that you'll be seeing are PhD opportunities, professors advertising opportunities, universities advertising positions, and whatnot. So join LinkedIn, but have a decent profile on LinkedIn, please. Don't just leave it anyhow, because remember it's academia, and you know academics, they are very, very idealist in approach, so you don't want to have any turn off on your profile. Then join X as well, formerly Twitter. All right. Join X, formerly Twitter. Twitter is a place for sometimes, sorry to use the word banter, but you can follow professors on Twitter. A lot of research institutes have Twitter pages. In my own case, because I'm interested in their work, I follow them on Twitter, and guess what? By following them, I came to understand that gradually, for me, what they do is like news to me. So I almost understand the terrain or like the trend of what they do, without having to without having to sit down to like read a chunk of papers to understand what they want, why they, no, because I've been following them, I've seen their tweets. Some for like the past 5, 7, 8 years. I know that this is what you're doing. I know that this is the institute for this and that. I know that the interest is gender, women's economic empowerment. I know that this is what you're interested in. And even in the women's economic empowerment, perhaps you were looking at maybe preventing masculine tendencies that prevent women from earning a decent income. So yeah, do that. Follow them on Twitter. Remember, scholarships are not just for grades. They are not just about grades. Scholarships are not just about grades. Now this is an opinion from artificial intelligence. It says that scholarships aren't just about grades. They are about impact, strategy, and positioning. Someone might be the best graduated student, but the 10th person in the class might be the one winning the scholarship. Sometimes because of positioning. Yeah. So if you know that you want to get a scholarship, position yourself for scholarships. Know how to manage your time, know how to prioritize. You know that you are trying to apply for PhD scholarship. So all your voluntary work should be channeled towards academia. Reach out to professors, ask to help teach their students, ask to lead tutorial classes, ask to do their research assistant. If the department wouldn't allow you to use their name as, okay, research assistant to so department, the professor could actually endorse you to state that I was a research assistant to Dr. XY. You can state that on your CV, and if you've done the work, you can write it down. Helped conduct interviews, coordinate focus group discussions, helped taught 20 students, probably sometimes even helped to access examination scripts. All those count in academia because those are the relevant experiences in academia. Academic approach is different from several other industries. They are ideal in approach, and that's why sometimes even if you have several years of experience in maybe security or in maybe banking, as important as it is, sometimes there could be some transferable experience, but the most ideal experience in academia is academic experience, because for them they deal with specificity. And I think those are some of the things they're trying to get out of you, because only people within that space will understand why some professors would spend maybe 20 pages talking about why maybe concept and conceptual are different. So that is something that you need to master for you to be a fantastic academic and to be able to compel selections panel to be able to award you scholarships. It's difficult to talk about scholarships in general within 40 minutes. I have over 200 videos on YouTube, TikTok and Facebook for you to go and watch. Most of my videos are 1 to 1.5 minutes long, although I have some longer videos. So if you don't know me and you don't know what I do and what my education activism is about, it's about coaching young people, especially from northern Nigeria, to be able to win international opportunities so that they can come back and be able to help us build the kind of country that we want. Thank you very much.